Thanks for inviting me to lunch. We really doing the shoot the video and drive and pretend like this is totally organic conversation thing?
Yeah, dude. Totally. That's all we're doing.
Oh, that's fine then. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Carry on.
You could call it Pastors in Cars Getting Chick-fil-A.
Hey!
Hey.
It's good. Take that, Jerry.
Because it is.
That's precisely what it is.
Well, you're watching The Intersection, where faith, life, and culture meet. Today, we're talking about Kanye. I'm Eric Targe.
And I'm Justin May.
And we have with us Ayanda Khumalo, TK. We've got Bryan Butler, a graphic artist at the Moody Church. TK is one of our music directors for the evening service. And then we got the famous Tim Stafford, the pastor of music at the Moody Church.
You know him, you love him, unless you've emailed him to the contrary.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so guys, who here has actually listened to the new Kanye album?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
That was
so
a hand raise from Brian.
that was a hand raise.
Yeah,
Good.
hi.
Okay, so I mean,
So far.
first off, like, what did you guys think? What do you think? Like, good album, bad album? What are the thoughts out there?
I like it.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's just go around. What do you think?
I think it's really solid. I think just content as well. Musically, it's just really creative.
I appreciated it. I need to sit with it longer to see how it, kind of evolves on me over time. But overall, I mean, it's good enough for me to listen to again. I'm intrigued. So,
Justin, what are you thinking?
To be fair, to be honest, I have really enjoyed the direction that his music's been going, even though like the last few albums lyrically I could not condone. But I just think musically I've loved where it's been headed, and I think this one, I mean, man, the lyrics alone are so good, but musically it's doing it for me.
Okay, so how long have you been following? I mean, who here has actually followed Kanye's musical career?
More or less since College Dropout.
yeah, same.
Okay. So to be honest, I haven't followed. I listened to this album probably 6 times now. I actually really do like it, and I feel like I've liked it more as I've gone through. But before this, I've only followed Kanye's gaffes. You know, the crazy things he's done or the things that have been a little bit out there. But this was my first time actually engaging Kanye. So I was listening to it the day it dropped with my wife, and both of us were listening. We're like, oh, we really like this album. Okay. And then we started listening to it more and more. But for those of you guys who really liked it, I really liked it. What did you like about it? And why is there this big, it seems like there's a big uproar right now between those, especially in the secular world, who think it's trash. You hear people saying like this is the worst of Kanye. I think the Babylon Bee, didn't they come out with an article about it saying
Now that Kanye's a Christian, he can start releasing mediocre music. Yeah.
So why is that? Guys, I want to hear your thoughts on that. Why is that the case?
Tim?
Pastor Stafford.
Well, I have a lot of things I could say musically, but I thought it was interesting that the whole album is only 27 minutes. Is that standard or not?
No,
That's not standard for
Look, I've made other CDs, and we paid a lot of attention to how much time between tracks and things, and he just has rough cuts, you know.
Yeah.
The first song to the second song is a rough cut. He ends the one with like, his dad says, "That's not Christ-like," and he screams in the end of the track, you know. Like, it's a really rough elements as in the flow. So I thought it's interesting. I wouldn't be able to evaluate based on other things how out of the norm that is.
You know, that's exactly how I felt the first few times I went through it. I was listening to it again this morning though, and part of me wondered like, again, it's a weird album based on like the cuts, but I was like, it seemed as though there was some like meaning to some of those things. Like there's weird things in the album, like the Chick-fil-A song, right? We all think like that's weird just on first listening. We're headed to Chick-fil-A now, hence Tim's joke. The songs that are kind of weird, as I listened to it a few more times, I was like, oh, there's deeper meaning there. Like the Chick-fil-A song is all about that countercultural aspect, like, hey, he's going against the culture. And when it came to those short stops, as I was listening to them, like, oh, it seems like, I don't know, it felt like Kanye was actually wanting us to want more. Like that first song, I loved that first song on the album. It was a spiritual, it was beautiful, and as I was listening to it and it ended, I was like, oh, he left me craving more than just Kanye's album. And I was like, was that done intentionally? Maybe not. But if it was done intentionally, I thought it was genius.
Jared Wilson had a great tweet that I can't pull up because you're using my phone up in the front to record. But, it was just something to the effect of somebody, it's an amazing, like really raw record, really raw expression. And, it's neat that no one's yet told Kanye he's supposed to be more embarrassed about his faith.
Well, that's what it is. It's the flow of ego is still there to a certain degree, but it's to his advantage in his boldness. It's to his disadvantage at some point when he thinks about what the meaning of being Christ-like is and how his Christian faith takes root more deeply.
It's like a little bit of ego maybe we should all have. You can't help but think of the D.L. Moody quote. You remember, Tim? I know we say it like 1,000 times at Moody Church, but where somebody complained about D.L. Moody and how he shared the gospel. And he said, I like the way I share the gospel better than the way that you don't share the gospel.
As I said already, I've only listened to the album once, so I can't heavily critique the content or the structure. However, I have followed his gaffes and aspects of his career since College Dropout, and I've also watched a few of the interviews he's done since the release of this album, since he started doing the Sunday services, and now in what he's saying and even in what he's doing. I don't doubt his conversion, but I also think it's unhealthy for people to try and put him on a pedestal. He's already visible as it is because of his career.
One of the things that's hard though for Kanye's position is like he already has a platform, like he has that, and one of the things that we're constantly telling Christians to do is to take their Christianity and don't let it be just a Sunday thing, but actually integrate it into their work and integrate it to their 5 days of work throughout the week for some and more for others. And it seems like Kanye is actually doing that. Stop here for a second.
Yeah. We're going to take a break and get some Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is actually my Chick-fil-A.
Hey, we got our Chick-fil-A.
Woo!
What everyone want to get?
I'm number one.
Number 5.
Number 5. Tim?
Spicy chicken.
Spicy chicken.
A whole mess of chicken strips.
Nice.
So I think Bryan, started a conversation about kind of looking back the last few albums that he's done, looking at just different kind of signs of things kind of moving in his life and in his music. So like, going back to Jesus Walks, I brought up the end of Click, which he did with Jay-Z, where he's got the line, I've been talking to God for so long, if you look at my life, I guess he's talking back. And it's about the only line from that I can repeat for this YouTube video. But it's just really fascinating to watch, because in my thinking, that kind of shows, okay, God's been working on Kanye for a long time. This conversion was not an overnight, one and done kind of thing. And I think so often in like Christian culture, we try to tell the story of a conversion story being like, well, there I was on the floor of the crack den and Jesus reached out and saved me and then I never sinned anymore. And like that's not really normative, right? Like most believers, even if you were raised in the church, if you were coming out of something, like that's a story that takes a lot of time of God working through many different means in your life, before you kind of get to that point that you're ready to, maybe never get to a point that you release an album called Jesus is King. But it's super interesting.
I think it's just the tension within a creative person who is a believer and going from a lifestyle that wasn't bearing fruit as a believer to, okay, I'm now intentionally doing my art to glorify God, whether or not people embrace it or not. So I wouldn't say, he's writing congregational music for the local church. So the tension is, I think people are caught up in, well, you were this, now you're this. It shouldn't be that. I think that's what people are pushing back. It's like, well, you were doing all this stuff that wasn't bound by the gospel and not filtered through the gospel. Now you're doing stuff that's filtered by the gospel. So I think the argument is people will say some people argue from my perspective, you're no longer as creative because you're bound by the gospel. So you're not free in that aspect. But I think what people are losing in terms of long-term foresight is his spiritual freedom, his eternal freedom, which actually I think will even help him more in his creativity if we, the church, let him disciple him in the right way. As Bryan was saying earlier, we need to disciple him as with any new believer. He's not just Kanye is Kanye. He's a new believer as a whole lot of other people.
Yeah.
So we still need to disciple each other and disciple him in the ways of the Lord, and then let him be creative. Support him in the creative process as a believer.
Yeah, and even the idea that he's not as free. Like, as Christians, one of the core things that we would say is we would disagree with that. We would say that he's more free in his artistry and everything that he does because he's, in a sense, I guess I kind of think of it like the illustration, maybe it's been overused, but like a fish is more free in water than it is in the air. And for the longest time, Kanye has been doing music in the air when he was designed for the water, you know? I love that track, Water, by the way.
Well, he's even got the lines on there, talking about that freedom and kind of we're all dancing around like, Galatians 5:1, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. And
Amen.
He as somebody who no longer cares about, as he says, like he's no longer working for the devil. He's free to say stuff that, man, a lot of people don't want to hear. And there has been already, there will continue to be, and I imagine it's only going to get worse, so much criticism getting leveled at him for just so many things. I don't know if you guys saw the story that somebody like flipped out and tried to make it a Fyre Fest thing, that they said at the Sunday service, Kanye was charging $55 for this like, kind of garbage breakfast. And the caterer ended up coming out and was like, no, that was us. We screwed up. It was us. It had nothing to do with them. Like Kanye is flying that choir around, on his dime. Like they're not,
Wait, is that right?
Oh yeah, that's.
He's flying them around in his dime.
Yeah, that's at least what what this person was saying. So
Okay.
There's an element of artistic freedom that anyone can claim, but when you're part of a popular mode of art, then you still are a bit slave to the appetites of a certain group of masses. So the sense of artistic freedom, there's always other sides to what's driving what comes out. But I like what he says anyway. I like that he says, I need to not care what man says. I need to say the truth, and that's why he's saying right up front, Jesus is King, and the rest of it. He's like when he's on Jimmy Kimmel, he's being consistent,
Yep.
So I really appreciate that part of this story. That's what gives me the most optimism, is that he seems to keep saying, this is who I am all the way through. He's not a closet Christian and maintaining his billion-dollar empire as he was.
Yeah.
He's doing exactly what any pop artist should never do. Really change midstream and risk your audience. Some artists have a really long career because they can reinvent themselves 5 times, but that's not what this is. This is something completely different. So he's being very disruptive to what is normal for a pop artist, and yet look at how much conversation it's driving. Look at how much people are interested, and that's what I mean by he's really taking up space in the cultural flow that is completely unanticipated. So that's the phenomenon I'm interested in. His album is really so short. It's the Sunday services that gives me more a sense of the affect, the personality of what this album means. Because he's not just the one up front performing. There's a whole group of people singing to him, almost like helping him heal, helping him understand the truth of the gospel. They're singing it at him. And I feel like that, the way that feels in the Sunday service is really helpful. It shows his humility in a certain way.
Yeah. I think that was one of the craziest things, that the first track, you don't hear Kanye. He put it together, I think he arranged it, but there's no Kanye in the first track, which to me I felt like that really smacked of so much genuineness, where he was like, okay, no, Jesus is King. this is not about me. Listen to these people sing Jesus is King, just in case you get it wrong and you think that you're listening for me. And I think a lot of the world was kind of frustrated. I saw a lot of people on Twitter like, Kanye is not even in the first song. He's not even appearing in the first track when it just dropped at noon last Friday, or 2 Fridays ago, was it now?
Well, and the lyrics in that first song that they're singing, you know, every hour, every minute, every millisecond, we need Christ.
We don't need Kanye, we need Jesus.
Right.
And he's getting it.
He's just spelling it out, exactly to your point, that it's not about him. You know, it's, hey, we need what only God can provide, and not our own efforts, and not what we're able to muster up. It's every second, every millisecond.
Okay, guys, closing thoughts. Big ideas, big takeaways from the album. If you have a word for Kanye, who's probably never going to see this video, what is it? Go.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah.
We're praying for you and your wife and your kids. The home of your faith. That's where the real stuff is. Not out here in the pop world where everybody's talking about you. The real thing about your new faith is under your roof.
Likewise, as I said earlier, praying for you. Pray that you become deeply and rooted and established in God's Word. That you develop a really strong community of believers around you. That God brings those folks, and that He just gives you wisdom. You even alluded to the marvel of being married 5 years and having 4 kids, and saying that in hip-hop music there isn't anything in there that will enable you to have a long and successful marriage, let alone get married. So I also pray that God gives you wisdom in this new stage of your life with your wife and with your children. As Tim said, welcome to the family.
Surround yourself, like you guys are saying, with the church family, people who will pour into you, challenge you, encourage you in the faith. It gets deeper and it gets tougher in some ways, in your new faith. So be encouraged. Spend time in the Word, spend time in prayer, and hold yourself accountable to the local church and the Word of God.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Finish well.
My word, keep going. Keep going. I mean, keep being faithful, keep being bold. You're preaching the gospel, you're telling people the truth. You're going to be tempted as time goes on to get soft on that. All of us are. You won't be the first one to be tempted to tone it down, but keep going. Keep preaching Jesus. We're praying for you, brother.
I'll just echo what everybody else is saying, and to really emphasize, like, just be, as with any new believer, man, the very best thing is be in the Word, because that is what's going to help you discern, good from evil, right from wrong, the meat from the milk. Like you're gonna be fed, and you're gonna grow based on God moving through that Word and through that truth getting implanted deeply in you, so that in this position of being somebody who is, unfortunately for a new believer, thrust into the spotlight in a way that I don't think any of us would ever be envious of, like that's going to keep you rooted. Does that wrap us up?
That wraps us up.
Okay. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you like the video or didn't like the video, well, definitely click a thumbs up, because it counts and we'll know what you meant. So do that. And, if you have like special, like hurtful things that you want to say to anybody, especially like, Pastor Tim, because he loves getting those things, go ahead and leave those in the comments section. I'm just kidding. If you do that, we'll find you. He's very used to it. If, no, don't do that. That's not cool. We think Kanye's way more saved than the person that has nasty things to say in a public forum about Tim Stafford. There, I said it. We love you all, and we'll see you next time. Blah, blah, blah.
And unlike Chick-fil-A, Moody Church is never closed on Sundays, so come Sunday mornings, Tim Stafford's leading music, and Sunday evenings, Ayanda Khumalo, TK, leads music. We hope we'll see you there. That was fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, can we just eat in the car now like this? Because I feel like I'm really getting into this vibe.